Welcome everybody. Today we are going over the transaction process A to Z. If you're new to Realty One, we have classes that are live at the Summerlin office, and when they're in the Summerlin office, we do record them and put them on YouTube. I got a lot of people saying, where's the Zoom link for today? This Back to Basics is never on Zoom. It's just live and then recorded and put onto our YouTube channel. So just double check that. YouTube is where you're going to go for pretty much everything that we do here. So you should have in this little packet 4 handouts. There's one that says a listing transaction process A to Z. Then there's our checklist. Then there's email to escrow officer. And then there's important contingency dates. So we're going to go through all of them. Now this class is just to kind of, for the newer agents, what to expect throughout your processes. And I do the listing side and then I do the buyer side. So I'm not going to go in deep with to how to get your clients or whatever, but say you have your client and you're getting ready to, you touch base, you had a phone call, whatever, you're going to start as a listing agent, you're going to start with your listing appointment. But what I suggest you do is always print out that tax record first, because you want to make sure that who you're meeting with is actually the person that's legally allowed to sell the house. Because I've used this example a lot of times, but way back when, you get some parents that would go out of country for like a month for vacation, and their kids might have a drug problem trying to sell their house while they're gone, So things like that do happen. You have aunts or uncles or sisters or brothers that try to sell the family home and think that they can get away with it. So you always want to get that tax record and know who you're talking to. And if it's a husband and wife on there, 2 people on there, 4 people on there, make sure you're meeting with all of them. Because sometimes you're just going to, it's just me, the wife, and then my husband will sign anything I want, but he has no clue what's going on. You don't know if they're in the middle of a divorce. We have no idea, right? So also you're going to want to do the comps. So they're comparables for the pricing wise, just to go there when you go there to let them know what you're dealing with. If you have somebody on the phone that's like, I want to list my home for $700,000, and you know that they're selling for $450 to $500, you have to have a list of comps to show, that's the pricing, that is what's happening in the neighborhood. But I don't say don't go, because this person just might be uneducated. But if you bring them the paper copy of everything and say, this is what's happening, this is the facts, these are the facts, then you can show them. I always ask them, and where did you find that price? My dad. I'm like, I didn't know your dad was licensed realtor in the state of Nevada. Well, why aren't you using him? Well, he's not licensed. I'm licensed. I've got all the information. I'm happy to share that with you. But, if they say, I got it from Zillow or something. I have a love-hate relationship with Zillow. I use them because my clients use them. I go there, and like when I'm doing comps, I go to Zillow, I go to Realtor.com, but I also go to the MLS, I go to Realist, I do all of that. I know that's what the number they're looking at, because they have no other access to it. I have access to all of that. And if you go at the bottom of Zillow, it will say 80% of the time it's accurate, but they're just grabbing at it. They don't know upgrades. It's just an estimated value, because nobody's walked into that home. And so that's what I tell them is, hey, I can give you estimated value right now, but I've never seen your home. So why would I do that? It's going to be misinformation. So I want to go there, walk through your home, see the good and the bad, what needs to be fixed, what you have upgraded, and then I can get you an idea of the pricing. Mm-hmm. Then when you go there, you're going to make a list of upgrades. You're going to make a list of repairs. You're going to get HOA information. You're going to get loan information if they have a mortgage on that property. Property profile, I always like to do that too before I go to a listing, is get with your marketing rep. Heather Marich is a marketing rep for Summerlin and Northwest, and then Anthony is for Southwest and Green Valley. But you're going to ask them to get you a property profile, and usually within 24 hours they'll give you this little packet. They can even email it to you. I think they have a little system that you can go on there and request it and just get it emailed to you also. And then once you do that, it gives you information about that property. It'll also tell you if there's any liens and things like that. It's kind of like a base pull. And then the prelim is the deeper pull, but they won't do that until you've actually opened escrow. But it kind of gives you an idea of what they owe and things like that. What's going on.
The preliminary title report?
That one's the property profile. The preliminary title report's going to do that deep dive, tell you if they have a mechanics lien, a trash lien, any kind of those big liens, right? Measurements. When you're going to your listing appointment, just be prepared to do measurements. I actually got a call today from an agent that said, hey, I'm just doing a rental listing. Can I just copy it from the last one? Absolutely not. You never, ever, ever copy somebody else's information because your name is now on that. And so they don't know that you copied it from the agent 5 years ago, but a lot has changed on that property 5 years ago. Did they do any upgrades? Did it, any improvements? Have they knocked down walls or, if your name is going to be on it, you have to do it. Pictures as well. You are not legally allowed to copy those pictures because those pictures are the photographer actually owns the pictures. People think, well, I paid for them. Yes, but the photographer owns them, right? So he's allowing you, you're buying them from him and he's allowing you to use them. Even the owners, like you have to get permission from the photographer to allow him to say, hey, can I give these pictures to the owner even though it's their house? Because you've hired them. So I don't like to give my pictures out. And if, like, a lot of times you get these antsy sellers that are like, I'm going to take the pictures now, they're going to go on vacation for a week, and then we're going to list it. They're like, can you send me all the pictures? Absolutely not. Because what do you think is going to happen if they decide they want to not use me and someone else? They're going to reuse those pictures. Mm-hmm. Nope, I already paid for those pictures. So I might send them one, or I'll just pull it up and then I'll take a picture of it and say, hey, so far this is what they're at, but I can't send those to you, but you'll see them live once we go on the market, right? That's my stuff. That's my marketing. I don't want to make it easier for another agent that might be discounting. So anyways, let's see. Measurements. Extra keys. When I do my listing appointment, I always ask them for extra keys. I'd like you to have a key, I'd like to have a key, and I'd like to put one in the box. Because sometimes that key in the box goes missing. They lose it, the agent went home with it because they're standing outside talking, and then they're all, oh, let me just pick this up. They put it in their pocket, next thing you know, they leave. Accidental, but also sometimes on purpose. Back in the day, 2005, 6, they were going like hotcakes, these houses, and they'd sell in minutes. They'd hit the market and they'd get 50 offers and they'd just pick one of them, nobody even went in the house. But then what would happen is the agents that show it, they were stealing the keys so nobody else could get into the house to show it. Then they submit their offer and they're like, I only got 5 offers when everybody else is getting 50. And the key was missing. So if you ever show up to a lockbox and the key's missing, you need to report that immediately to that agent because you're going to get fined. If the key's missing, it's like a $100 fine for a missing key. And after so many, I'm sure they're going to revoke your license because you shouldn't have that many missing keys. I think I've had 3 missing keys where something had happened. I don't even know. But it doesn't happen too often, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if they want to be nasty agents, they can do that, right? So with that, let's see. Possible permits. A lot of people like to add on like sheds or sunrooms or even patio covers. You need to make sure that stuff was permitted. So when you walk outside, you're like, great, when did you add that shed? You could see that it's on poured concrete. You could see that it sits above the backyard wall. That's the thing. If it's below the wall, you usually don't need HOA permission. But if it's above the wall and anybody else around you can see it, you just generally will need HOA permission. Same with your patio covers, your pools, they all need permitting. So a lot of people are like, oh, I just did it myself. Well, great. If you extended your wall and made it higher, you needed permission for that. And even if your neighbor said it was okay, you have nothing in writing saying that it's okay. So maybe they sell their house. This next neighbor's like, I didn't say this. It's blocking my view. And now you have this dispute. So you always want to make sure any improvements that you can see, hey, that are outside that the neighbors can see, did you get the authorization for that? Even like their landscaping, if they add all these trees, if you can tell they're relatively new, you're like, hey, what's going on? Did you just recently do this landscaping? Did you go to the architectural board with the HOA? A lot of our properties are in HOAs here. If they're not, then no HOA, they can do whatever they want generally, but then sometimes there's things that they need city and county permits for, even though they're not in an HOA. So just talk to them and find out. So then once you get all that information, you're going to put it on the MLS, right? And then you're going to add
So we put this on the MLS ourselves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a form. I did not include it in here because I have a separate listing class, but it's called a residential data form. DATA. Data form. And it's like 5 pages. Hold on, I gotta turn this heat down. No, we're getting a little too hot in here.
I know, I'm starting to cough.
I know, because the dust is flying. The first time we turned our heat on for the year, but let me turn it down. Okay, so the residential data form is 5 pages long, and it gives you boxes that you can check mark of everything that's in that house. Once you fill it out, you take it in front of the computer, and that's how you input everything into the MLS. So it'll say bedroom number 1. You have to measure the bedroom, so you'll go to that listing class. I get a laser measurer, and I put it on the wall. I hit the button, and it sends a red dart. What do you call it? The laser. and it'll take 10 feet, and then I go to that wall by 12 feet. So I put 10 by 12, and then I'll say is included with a light, a ceiling fan, mirrored closet doors, closet, and then bedroom number 2, just like kitchen, just by like laundry. You're gonna do that for every single room in the house, but it's got to be your information. So then you fill out that form, then you go to the MLS and you add a listing, and every page comes up with all that stuff, the schools and the assessor's parcel number you're going to pull from the tax record, and then once you do that, it'll auto-populate most of that, like the important stuff that hasn't changed. It's attached to that parcel number, but any upgrades and things, and because you never know what they're going to do. They might take out walls, but it wasn't. The assessor doesn't know that, so it was a 4-bedroom. They took out a wall, and now it's only a 3-bedroom. You should disclose that, but on the parcel record, it's going to say it was a 4-bedroom. So you're going to put in the agent remarks, originally 4-bedroom, wall removed, and now is a 3-bedroom, has not changed in the tax record. They should change that because it reduces the value of the property. A 4-bedroom is obviously usually more valuable than a 3-bedroom, but sometimes they don't change that. So is what it is, but okay, then you put it on the MLS, then you're going to order a sign and a signpost. I use 2 different companies but there are companies that will do both, because like a one-stop shop. I just get my own signs made up and I keep them myself. And then every time I have a listing, I call a sign company, a post company, and they deliver the post and a flyer box. I'm a little old school. I like the flyers, but I win a ton of listings up for just having my flyers. People like to gather them, and then they take them home. It's got my information, it's got my house information, it's got everything on there, right? So however I can market myself. But then once I'm ready to go live, I drive back to the house and I put my sign up. Some agents are like, nope, I'm just going to keep my sign at the sign post company, and whenever they deliver the post, they're going to hang my sign. That's fine, but however you want to do it, but there's different processes for that.
So the post has to be ordered? You can't just have your own post that you put in?
Are you going to dig in this Vegas dirt?
So
No.
you have to pay for that every
Yeah.
I better make my own and do my own.
You can, but then you got to keep checking to make sure it doesn't fall down. Now, if it falls down within the first 48 hours, they'll come and pick it back up and put it back in there. But remember, you have kids that come by from school, they're kicking it, they're throwing things at it, signs go missing. My signs are all dented up, and I'm like, how did that happen? But the wind, they'll whip around, and they've got these 2 rings on it. One falls off, and now the sign is flying all over the place. But they do go missing, things like that.
So the company doesn't hold you liable for any of that stuff?
Well, so with the signpost, you have to I go online and I order it. And then once they put it up, they call me and they take payment. What was it? The company that I use, it's I think it's $55 plus another $10 for the flyer box, right? And then when you go, once you go to take it down, you have to go online to order it to take down. Now, when you order it, it could take 48 hours for them to get it up. You never want that sign and signpost up before you take the outside pictures of the home, because you can't brand yourself in these pictures. So just know that, right? So, so no signs in there, and if so, that the photographer has to go in and block out, and now it looks funny that you got this squiggly stuff. So I always say, get your pictures done, then order the sign to come like the day before you actually go live. You can't put your sign up until it's actually live on the market. You can't market something that's not active, right? So I do that the day before, and then I hang my sign. And then once we're under contract and we're ready to close, I leave my sign up. And I don't put just sold, because guess what? I'm trying to get buyers. And if they drive by and they say, oh, that one's sold, they're not going to call me. But then they see it, they're like, oh my gosh, I love this property. Oh, that one just went under contract, but I've got something similar in the neighborhood. Like, your job is just to keep working those buyers, right? So I don't, but some people have good success with just sold. Look at how many properties I sold. Look how fast I sold it. It's how you want to market yourself, right? So I wait on that, and then right when it records, I do not call to remove that signpost until it records. So once it records, I go and take my sign off of it again. And then I call the company, or I go online and I say, please remove the sign. And it can take 24 to 48 hours. And then I send an email to that listing agent. Please advise your clients that it's going to take up to 48 hours for the company to come back and get that signpost. If they feel the need to remove that prior, please have them put that on the side of the house. Because if they come and that signpost is gone, sometimes they chop it up for wood, whatever, because they're wood posts, they're going to charge you $100 to $150. Now, if I sent an email and that agent did not say to her clients, I already alerted you. And if you aren't going to pay for that, I'm going to go to your broker because you were informed. Somebody's paying for this signpost. But that's just their job. Mm-hmm.
So when you say recorded, you mean after closing?
Yeah, so you're going to sign, fund, and record.
Okay.
So, yeah, you go there with your clients and they sign, which we'll go through in here. Then they're going to fund, meaning they bring in their money and then title disperse the funds, and then they go down to the assessor's office and record, right? And once it records, title sends out an email to everybody that says, congratulations everybody, it's recorded, it's been a pleasure working with you. And then you start calling everybody, and then I immediately go online, please remove the sign, and then I send the second email, do not get rid of my signpost, they're coming within 48 hours.
Right.
Because those are the extra charges that you're gonna go, I didn't need to pay for that. You know, I mean, things get expensive, like your open house signs. We let you borrow open house signs, but we only have 25 or 30 of them, and we have like almost 500 agents in our office. So if everybody wants to do open house signs, we can only let you borrow 4 at a time, and after we're out, we're out. But if you come and say, hey, it's Friday night, I need them for the weekend, and 3 people never picked them up because they're no longer doing them, we'll just say, hey, we can release more to you, but unfortunately we can only give 4 to an agent. So I always say invest in your open house signs. I have the signs that I used a year in for my real estate career. I still have them. I repaint them, and then I change them. Because I was with another brokerage before, and that brokerage went under, and all of us came over to Realty One, and here we are, 20 years later. So we're still here, but so those colors were more like red, white, and blue, and the metal part was white. Well, I like my Realty One black and gold, so I repaint them all gold, black, and then I just get new signs put in, and they're like $40, $45 a sign, and you need 2 for your open house signs. But again, there's so many different kinds of signs. The ones I have are heavy A-frames, right? And they have like really solid signs in there, where the other ones are kind of flimsy metal ones that just kind of sway, and you have to hold down by like sand packs and things, or bricks or whatever. If I'm running in the middle of an island in the street, I don't want to worry about the sign and the balloons and then sand packs and bricks, and I'm looking for rocks to hold it down, because the wind blows and your sign's down. Guess what? You're sitting there all day, your sign's down. So I just invested in the heavy signs that very rarely fall over. Do they get stolen? Yes, because people are like, this would be great for my garage sale next week. And they're stealing your signs. I think I bought 10 signs for $1,000 back then. I don't know how much they are now, but they were heavy signs, and I still have them to this day. And every house I move to, my husband is so angry at me because he's like, why are we taking these signs? Because I didn't do open houses for many years. I became a listing agent, and then I had all the new agents that wanted to do open house. I'm like, sure. So I didn't incorporate that because I'm like, they're all doing it. But I have all these signs, and he's like, there's these signs. I said, don't you throw away my signs. I don't care. But I also organize craft fairs and things like that. So I utilize those signs for other parts of my life. But again, they're really heavy signs, so I'm never getting rid of these signs. But
So is that one company that we actually get our signs?
Yeah, there's bunches of different companies that you can do, but like if you just Google like realtor accessories, realtor open house accessory, realtor signs, there's so many different. But we have in the back office in our zone, I think it's called DEE sign or Design or something like that. Mm-hmm. They sell them in there. Like there's multiple companies. So you're just gonna. Some of them are metal signs. Some of them are like this foam sign. Some of there's a coagulated plastics, and there's all these different things that you can do.
So if we were to reserve 4 signs,
Mm-hmm.
how long can we keep those?
As soon as your open house is done.
Now, every day we have to bring those back?
Not if it's on the weekend, because we're not here, so we would rather you keep it and then deliver them back on Monday, because people will leave them at the front where the ladies are, and then somebody's like, oh, nobody's using them, and they take them, and you returned them, but they didn't, like, and you're like, you're responsible for them, so they're free, but if you don't bring them back, we're going to charge you.
Okay, so if someone steals those, we have to pay for that?
Because, unless we can catch them on camera, and we know that it will usually see you bringing them in and somebody else taking them out. But
I'm saying the ones you put on the street,
Yep.
if someone steals those that belong to us,
Yeah.
we have to pay for them.
Because we all had to pay for them. Even Tim used his own. Some of those are Tim's signs. You could see his face. He put his face on them. So it's like we're just keep replenishing them, but we're out of signs. Tim, bring all your signs in. So for our agents to use. So, and I was doing open house years ago. I want to say 4 years ago. And I needed a lot, because when you go deep into the subdivision, you got to turn here, turn here, turn here. So now you might have used all 4 inside there. I need to put some out on the main road to get them in there. And so they're like, I said, I just need 2 signs, and the 2 I pick up have Tim's face on them. That's when I realized, I'm like, what are these? But he's like, they're my signs. But it doesn't matter because they're looking. I like to keep the color consistent. Okay. So all of the signs that we have are black and gold. But if you want to do different colors on your signs, that's great. But one minute they're like 2 main streets away and they see black and gold, black and gold, black and gold, and then all of a sudden it changes up to white. They're not going to think they're following to the same house, right? So you want to kind of stay consistent. And that's why I say if you get your own, or what you can do is I put balloons, and then I'll put like those pinwheels. And if they're different, they're the same color pinwheels on each one, they're not looking at the sign, they're looking for the pinwheels. So, and they're not reading the sign, just so you know. They never read the sign unless they're at a gate and they're like, who do I call? How do I get in? They're going to read that one sign, but they're never reading your name on that sign. Just how it is.
There's no need in putting all that extra information.
No, I don't. I just put my name, my license number, my phone number. Okay. I don't even put my picture. Yeah. As a female, it's not the way I did my business. I used to put my picture on everything. Car sign, like the magnets and all that. And you get a couple of stalkers a couple times and then you're done. You're driving down the freeway and they call you and you're like, hi, it's against the law to be, and they're screaming at you. They're just trying to catch you in things. I'm like, oh my gosh. I've been followed in the Caesar's Palace parking garage before. They didn't realize I knew everybody there, so I had security stop them. They called Metro, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, so yeah. So it does, just watch yourself. I do put, did I put my picture on my listing signs? I think nope. Maybe? I don't remember. I don't remember if I have my...
So your car sign, the kind you stick
the metal
on,
ones?
that has your picture?
It did.
You still use that?
I do. And you know why?
Why?
Because I'm a crazy driver. And so when they see that sign, they're like, oh, they're a realtor. Watch out. They're just going to make a U-turn. And I've always drove big trucks, so I have no problem just driving over median. You know, like, oh, I'm just going to turn right here. And I'm like, and so they, you know, they're like, okay, she's a realtor or whatever. Yeah. So it was my excuse. But yeah, I did take my picture off of those because that's when I would get followed.
So once we get our license, we can have those made.
Just name and phone number.
On our car when we're doing business.
Name, phone number, and you make sure you have your license.
When we're doing our business, we can slap that on, and
absolutely.
When we're not doing business, we take it off.
Absolutely. There's people that get them on the windows. You know the what is it? The window decals or whatever they are.
Oh, okay.
But it's always on there. But on the other hand, it's tax write-off because you're marketing on your car.
Well, I was thinking about the license plate holder. Do we have that?
There's some at the Realtor Association. It says Realtor.
Oh, nothing Realty One, black and gold.
There might be in our back office there. You could probably check. But I know there's those license plate stands at in the casinos and in the malls that you can make your own there too.
Okay.
You put your name everywhere. Yeah. So there's however you want to brand.
Okay.
But there's just different ways to do it. So all right. So sign and signpost and your pictures. You could take pictures on your cell phone because we all have some great cell phones, but I don't advise it. You get one chance for people to see your listing and to get in, and the way to do it is through your pictures. You want those high definition quality pictures. And when you're doing a listing presentation and you're telling them all the wonderful things you're going to do, and I pay a photographer to come in and do high definition, and the next guy's like, oh yeah, no, I've got the new iPhone 15, so it works just fine. Why would I use you if you're not going to invest in it when this person over here is going to use a photographer? So I have, there's the Homes Illustrated magazine. I don't have one in here, but right outside the door, there's a bunch of them there. And I've been marketing every listing I have for 10, 12 years in that Homes Illustrated magazine.
I saw that at Albertsons.
It's everywhere. Yeah. That Homes Illustrated magazine goes into every grocery store in Southern Nevada, every grocery store in Southern California. Oh. It goes up and down the strip. It's at the 2 Denny's on the strip, and it's on the Wall Street Journal website. Okay. So if I'm listing your home and I say I'm going to put I'm going to run an ad in the Homes Illustrated magazine, and it goes here, 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 here. You're going to go. Oh, I'm like, who doesn't want their home in a magazine, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, right? We as realtors are like, oh, that's print. How much is that going to cost me? Okay, so there's newspaper print and there's glossy, both intertwined in that magazine. Newspaper print, half page, $55. Full page, $99. No, it's not. Then you get your glossy. I'm not even sure how much a glossy is because I never did the glossy. Now, if you want your $1 million plus home on the front, it runs for a whole month and it's $365, I think. So print is really expensive, but to have a half a page For $55, I do it for every
Exactly.
listing. And here's the thing is, it's really not for me to grab buyers and sellers. It's for me to win that listing. Because I always say, who doesn't want their home in a magazine? And this is all the print and the places it's going to go. And they're like, oh my gosh. So I had a client that just walked around. I handed her a receipt, and we were at a party. And she's like, do you want my autograph? My home's in a magazine. And I'm like, if you really knew, it's only $55. But it made me look good. And then they're like, oh, well, Wendy puts her ads in. So guess what? It's just for me to get more business. So it's all how you market. And I do have a class on just marketing and branding yourself. So we'll go into that. But so you're going to do your sign and sign post, your pictures, any video marketing, just listed, pre-listing, coming soon, whatever you want to do. You're going to do all your print work marketing. If you are going to accept FHA and VA loans, you're going to make sure that it qualifies for that. So we do have the lender that comes in and talks from time to time, and he tells you the different qualifications. So like FHA, you can't have any broken roof tiles. You can't have any broken windows. If so, it just needs to be repaired by the seller prior to close of escrow. So if you know your seller doesn't have any money, to do any kind of repairs, and you're like, this house is as is, they're already in the negative, let's not offer FHA and VA, because VA is the same way. Like there's a couple extra fees like that for VA sometimes, and before the sellers, the VA buyers weren't able to pay for commissions or transaction fees, and now with the lawsuit they can. So it becomes qualifications for that. FHA as well. When you're outside of the front of the house, you're going to look at where it's the eaves, but the roof comes down and they'll have the wooden eaves. They can't be chipping away. The paint has to be perfect. They can't be splintering. That has to be repainted. VA. They won't give you a loan unless that's fixed, and that could be $1,700 to $3,000 depending on the house, because they have to get scaffolding and go up there. So it's VA that causes that. And so whenever I would show a home and I know I've got a VA buyer, the first thing I'm looking at is like, do I see any cracked windows? How do the eaves look? And then when I write the offer, I put it in the offer, all eaves to be painted per VA guidelines. And then when we get the inspection report and it says, hey, the eaves need to be painted, and then I say, hey guys, here's my repair request. And if they still, they're like, okay, but then you're going to get your appraisal, and the appraisers are going to say, sorry, I just realized I didn't have my microphone on. And the VA appraiser is going to say, I mean, they can hear me, but I like to, be a little bit louder in case I get quiet, which very rarely happens. But but the VA appraiser is going to say, I'll appraise the property at this price, but those eaves must be fixed, and it has to be prior to close of escrow. So with that, you have to understand what kind of loan your buyer is getting, but also what you're going to accept, what kind of loans you're going to accept as a listing agent, right? Because we're still on the listing portion here. Confirm your SID lid balance. So you have HOA fees, but in the master plan communities, you're going to have SIDs and lids, which is like common community areas, like your sidewalks, your street lights, your whatever it may be. There's a SID and lid balance that could possibly travel with the property. Sometimes the first phase doesn't have to pay for it. And then the second phase, it's only $18,000. And then the third phase, it's going to go up to $25,000. A lot of people will pay that up front, and other people will just I'm just going to pay it quarterly or semi-annually or whatever, and it just travels with the property. Does it bring any more value if it's paid off or not? That's questionable. My clients that are buying in master plan communities, they just know that it's a fee that they're going to have to pay. So if it's paid off, they're like, cool. They're not like, I only want this house because it's paid off. So when my clients ask me, should I pay it off? And I'm like, you don't really need to. But that's up to you. Sometimes if you don't want that monthly bill, that's great. But I just don't want you thinking paying it off now is going to bring you $10,000 later on. It's just not, right? That's just a fee that these people that are buying in this community are expecting anyways. So then you list the property, you get offers, people start showing it, whatever. Then you're going to review the offers. Whenever I receive an offer in, it's going to have a pre-approval letter or proof of funds. If it has a pre-approval letter, it's because they're getting a loan. I always call that lender. So make sure you make contact with the lender. You see that they're qualified for it. If they're asking for closing costs, little trick I do is I'm like, great, we have a mutual client. I'm the listing agent. You are the lender for the buyer. I just received an offer from their agent, and it says that they want $10,000 in closing costs. Is that a need or a want? And they just freeze up. They don't want to answer that. And I say, well, okay, just so you know, we're okay with giving closing costs, but I need to know if it's a need or a want in case it doesn't appraise and we have to take those closing costs away. Will they be able to go forward? Because if they need those closing costs and then it doesn't appraise, now I have to drop the price and I have to give them closing costs, and now my seller's just lost out. So most of the time they're like, no, it's just a want, it's to be super helpful. Okay, that's great. I'm just alerting you that if it doesn't appraise, we're going to be taking them away. So just make sure that they have them there. And they're like, okay, that's great. But because my issue is, if they need it, they need those closing costs, and my seller needs to make a certain amount of money, and that appraisal doesn't come in, the first thing to go are those closing costs. I'm not going to go under contract with somebody that needs it and potentially is going to throw us negative, and then we got to go back on the market, and it's going to waste my client's time, right? So those are things that you need to think of ahead of time. And then when you're interviewing or asking the lender about the buyer offer that comes in. Then with every offer, I do make a net sheet for my sellers. So I let them know, hey, you might have two offers, and one might be at $600 and this one might be at $590. But the one at $600 is asking for $20,000 in closing costs. This one at $590 is not asking for anything. That's a better offer, right? It's not always about the price. It's everything combined in that offer. So we want to make the net sheet, and that's why I make a spreadsheet. And I say, with this offer, you're going to get this. With this offer, you're going to get that. So they know, right? Then you're going to negotiate and write counters. You're going to obtain all your signatures on everything. Just a reminder, anything that's signed by your clients needs to be given to the transaction coordinator or uploaded to SkySlope within 48 hours. It's a law that they require it. If our files get audited, we get in trouble for not having contracts that are signed, right? We get some agents that wait till the very end, and then they're just like, oh, hey, here's all my file. Can I get paid tomorrow? No, they don't. What you need to understand is that file needs to get reviewed. Then it goes through the coordination. Then it goes through everything. Make sure every I's dotted, T's crossed, dates are there, like all there. Then it gets uploaded. Then it gets completed. So if not, it's not always done by Maria. We have multiple transaction coordinators throughout the 4 offices. And so if Maria's getting so much done over here, then somebody else will pick it up from somewhere else. They're not aware of your file, but they're like, hey, this is already recorded, and this person never even uploaded it. You will get fined, or you will get charged a transaction coordination fee because you did not do your thing in a timely manner. Because if we get audited and your file's not there, like, what if you take a listing, something happens and you go in the hospital? We didn't even know you took a listing. We didn't even know it hit the market. And then people are calling us, and we're like, what's going on? We have no information. So within 48 hours, all of your documents need to be to the compliance or uploaded into SkySlope. While you're on your mentee thing, real quick, the 3 transactions are required to run. Everything gets sent to Maria and me and Tim for review, and then it gets up. But after the year 3, it's up to you if you want to decide if you want to continue on with the transaction coordinator. Some people like to do their own paperwork, and other people don't. But for the first 3, yes. Okay.
So do you guys have, well, do we, I gotta take ownership here, do we do the DocuSign, like what I just did when I sold my house? Is that,
Yep, it's a part of transaction desk.
is that
Do you have?
everybody getting things signed? Isn't that automatically done,
Nope.
or is it something?
It's all you. You, and all your paperwork is on you. Even the transaction coordinator, your job is just to send it to Maria, because we have transaction desk is where you go to fill out your forms,
Right.
then you DocuSign out of there, they send it back. But SkySlope is a digital file holding area. So you're going to do all your forms, get it signed, and then you send it over to Maria. She reviews everything, make sure everything's good. If it's not good, she's going to send it back to you. But then once it's good, she's going to upload it into SkySlope. She's doing the first transaction so you can follow behind and watch where everything goes. Second transaction, we kind of teach you how it really works. Either Maria will sit there, I've got videos on that, all that. And then the third transaction, she's going to help guide you through it, and then she's going to follow through. Because what happens are people will start a SkySlope as a listing, and then they get an offer, and then they open another one over here. Now we have 2 different files. So people just weren't getting it. So we're like, you know what, let's make it mandatory for the new agents coming in on those 3 so we can train you on how SkySlope works. But her job is not like a traditional transaction coordinator. You can hire, because it's an extra $100 for Maria to do all of this, right? But an outside TC is $350 to $500. And they're like, you're like, hey, make an offer for 123 Main Street. They're drawing up the offer, they're sending it over, they're getting counter offers, they're looped in on everything, like they're running your paperwork. That is not Maria's job. Maria's job is to just, in compliance, make sure everything's there, and then to properly upload into SkySlope so you guys learn how to do SkySlope. That's the TC.
So would that then become our employee?
They're an independent contractor. It's like you're paying them separately. Yeah. So that has nothing to do with us, but like I said, some people like they're doing their paperwork and other people did not. I was one that liked to have my hands on my paperwork, but let me tell you, 3 or 4 transactions in the same month, and you have paperwork, and you're like, which address and which title company? Because like everything's all over the place. So I'm like, Maria, you take these 2. Anything with that address, I'm sending you these 2. I'm taking for me, right? Because it becomes too much, and then you don't want to get lost in the paperwork. You got to know your limits.
So the DocuSign whole thing is something that we ourselves would pay for?
No, it's through the LVR.
Oh, it's
Yeah, through the LVR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So everything is done through, like, so you're going to log in. Do you have access to the LVR, the MLS yet?
No license.
Okay, yep. So once you get that, you're going to go down to the LVR, and then you're going to pay the $1,600 or $1,800, and then they're going to put you into the system.
I'm excited about that.
I know. But they're going to put you into the system, and then you're going to have access to all of those tiles, and one of the tiles is Transaction Desk. So that's where you go, and I just did a thing on the templates and everything, so you can check on YouTube and watch, but until you get access to it, it might be confusing. Yeah, and so what you'll do is you'll go in there and you fill out your file, your document, and then you just hit the little pen and it, fill that out, and then it sends you to your client. Then once they sign it, it sends it back to you, and you can distribute it to Maria, you could distribute it to the other side, whatever it is. And then after that, once they sign it, then you can put it up into SkySlope once you're past your 3 transactions. But yeah, so Transaction Desk fills out the forms, and then SkySlope is a digital file area to hold it. And then we'll hold it in there. Like, I still have files in there from 2009 when I started. Like, it's there forever, so I can always access it. By law, we legally have to hold our paper files for 5 years. So we have a separate area that holds everybody's paper files. But you guys better get used to holding yours. I got filed things like in my house that are just, they're fireproof and whatever, because I have to hold my documents for 5 years. Now, I was holding them for 7, and then my tax person said after 5, get rid of them, because if they want to audit you, if you have them in your possession, you have to give them up. So I'm like, I don't want that, but I have some.
As a broker?
No, that was my tax person.
No, I'm saying, is that as a broker you have to hold that?
No, everybody has to hold. It's like your taxes, just your personal taxes. Anything.
I'm talking about your files. Oh yeah, that's my business.
That's your business, yep. Now the thing is I have some clients that have been the same. I've sold them the home, and they stayed for 10, 12 years. I still hold that file because when I go to relist that house,
You have all that.
I have all the information, right? And then I've got the SRPD from that previous buyer, so it's information that we knew about. I guarantee you they're not keeping that. Your clients are not keeping that, but I'm keeping that. So that's the value that I have for them to use me again, because I constantly have I will continually have their files and information. But anybody that isn't in there, it's out. I'm not holding it. Like, it's gone. So some people will move every 2 years. Okay, it's gone after 5, but I have to hold it for the 5. So just keep that in mind. So the seller net sheets, negotiate counters, obtain all signatures, change orders. So we have a form that's called the change order form. So once you list your property, it's ER, available on the market. You change anything, the price, the dates, or whatever, you have a change order form. You accept an offer, you need to fill out that change order form that says, we've accepted the offer and we're changing it to under contract no show or under contract show, and then your seller has to sign it. So there, you'll have to get that for your file as well. And again, in SkySlope, because you don't have access to, you have access to it, right? Okay, so Transaction Desk, you make your your documents. SkySlope is a digital file area. Once you go in there and designate what type of file it is, a buyer, a seller, a rental, whatever, it'll produce a checklist of all the documents you need. So it'll light up like listing agreement, it'll light up addendums or counter offers or change orders. It'll tell you what's needed in there. So you don't have to worry about it, but I just kind of put it in here to remind everybody you need the change order, because we all forget. I'm guilty of that too, but fill out the form for contingency timeframes. So on the last page of this packet that I just gave you, there's a form that says important contingency timeframes. Super important, and I do it, I did it before I had this access to this, but as my regular business, I would have a manila folder that we can get from the LVR. They're great. And they had like all these questions for you: who's the buyer, the seller, the title company, all that stuff. But when I open it up, I would put all the pertinent information, you know, offer accepted, well, the original offer date, the offer accepted, EMD, due diligence, appraisal, and I follow along because I want to remember, like, if I have a 10-day due diligence period, it goes off of, okay, so you have your offer date is always on the top right, and you're going to take these classes. It'll show you when you're writing an offer, you're on the top right, you're going to write your offer. But then it's the acceptance date that all of these time frames go after, but it's the day after. So say I wrote an offer and they accepted it today, which today, the 9th. So we all got his signatures today at the 9th. Day 1 starts on the 10th. So I have 10 days from the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, right? So that's why this is important to keep you on those time frames, because at day 9, if I haven't heard back from, you know, like my due diligence period and I'm like, are we moving forward, whatever, I need something in writing. Either we're going to continue or we're canceling. Like, you have to stay online because that's the buyer's earnest money is the chance of losing that if we don't stay on our time frames there. So this is, if you guys need it, let me know. But I try to give it out with all of our classes because while you're on the mentee program, especially, we require you to fill this out. Because if you go into my office, you're still going to see a whiteboard with everybody that's under contract, the agent, the new agents. And I ask all of these same things. And because every day I come in and I'm like, okay, who's what? Who do I need to contact? Right? Because now it's not just my 1 or 2 deals for the month. I've got like 10 agents doing a deal. I'm like, who's doing what, where? When are you set to close? When your due diligence ends? Because it's so new to you guys. You're like, yeah, my due diligence ended yesterday. Well, great. Did we need any repairs? Did they respond to that? Are we doing it? So we try to stay on top of that, right? So this is helpful for us, Tim and myself, while you guys are under contract on the mentee program. But after that, I'm telling you, I still use it. It's just something that I use and incorporate it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and if you have 2 deals at the same time, or even this one deal, like 10 days from now, it's like, okay, well, the inspector and we sent a repair request. And then you get busy over here and you're like, oh shoot, what is it, my due diligence over? Can I ask for repair? Or and it puts everybody in a bad spot if you're not following your time frames. So, all right, and then open escrow email. So then also on the 3rd packet I gave you, it says email to escrow officer. So say you've got an offer, it's accepted, now you're gonna open escrow. So who opens escrow? Does a buyer's agent open escrow or does a listing agent open escrow?
The seller?
Doesn't matter. But here's my thinking. Whoever's title company it is. So the title company is the buyer's choice, but sometimes we waver on that just to get the offer accepted. And it's like, the seller's willing to give us $20,000 in concessions, but they want to use their title company. Okay, I'm not going to lose a deal over that if they're agreeing to that, right? We love Rock Title. We want to use Rock Title, but they understand that we don't want to lose a deal over that if that's the only thing. Okay. Now, the seller cannot just counter the buyer, counteroffer title company to change. Nope. The buyer can. The buyer can say, hey, I accept all your terms, but I want my title company. And there's nothing they can do about it because it's the buyer's choice. So the seller will generally find other things to counter you. Even if your offer's perfect, if they want their title company, they're going to say close of escrow to be 1 day later. Oh, and by the way, change the title company. Because they can get in a lot of trouble by forcing you to use their title company because it is the buyer's choice. So with that, if I'm using, like I say, whoever's title company it is, that's the person that should open escrow. Because if I want Rock Title, but they counter me out another title company, I'll say, well, you have the escrow officer's name and phone number and email. You go ahead and open it. I don't have that information. And a lot of times they'll go, oh, here it is. Because they don't want to go through all of this opening escrow. I'm okay. If I know my client's information, if I know the title company, I prefer to do it because I know it got done. And it got done right, and it got done the information. So with that, it says open email to escrow officer. Opening escrow, include your client's names and email addresses. I don't agree with that because you're going to send a mass email and it's going to include the listing agent, it's going to include the lender, it's going to include the title company, it's going to include everybody. So I don't necessarily want, if I'm on the buyer or the listing side, I don't want anybody else, the other side, whoever it is, to have my client's information. So I just put, I just kind of spell it out here. It'll say escrow officer, Jennifer Croft from Rock Title, which she unfortunately not there. She just moved last month into commercial. But so this is a little dated, but it's just, or Kathleen LaMarche, she's been at Rock Title forever. She's great. I think like 25, 30 years she's been in escrow. So she's awesome too. So look at here. It says Kathleen LaMarche. You will send an email to include both listing and buyer's agents, title, lender, and anybody's transaction coordinators if need be. So in your case, you guys are on the mentee program, you're going to include me, Tim, and Maria on there, right? And then it says you can copy and paste the below content. Everyone gets the same email so everyone knows who's involved in the transaction. So then that way, if you are using like Maria, you want to include Maria in there and you'll please include my TC. Now you've sent that to the other side. So now every time they send you an email, they'll send Maria an email. Like, so you want to keep it chain, but you have to understand that other side has a TC. Every email you send that listing agent, you got to send that TC. So that's why having that important dates and important people information is important, because you're like, who do I need to send what on this file, right? But it says, hello, Jennifer. Congratulations, everyone. Please open escrow for my clients and put the buyers' names or sellers' names, whoever you represent. I represent buyers or sellers in this transaction. Attached, you'll find the RPA, Residential Purchase Agreement, and counters. I'm including everyone's contact information. I'm at the Realty One Group Summerlin office, and we look forward to working with all of you. If you can please send me an estimated closing statement as soon as you have all the appropriate figures, that would be helpful. Please CC Tim Kelly, Wendy Schaller, and Maria Oates on this email. Thank you, and I look forward to a successful closing. And then underneath it, it put, Maria, will you please TC this file, and I'll reach out and get the required documents. That's just to alert Maria that you are requiring a TC. Remove this sentence when copying and pasting. Adjust all below information to match the transaction. Okay, so what does that mean? Oh, I guess, so what happens is a lot of people will copy and paste this, and they don't put their buyer's information in there, and they just says insert names, and so
Yeah.
you're going to copy and paste and fill out what's important, right? Okay. So now the second page, what you're going to do is right underneath that paragraph, you're going to list all the pertinent information. I put transaction information, purchase price to be $350, EMD, earnest money deposit, $5,000 to be wired to title within 48 hours, escrow to be opened with Jennifer Croft, Rock Title, estimated COE, close of escrow, 12/8/23 or 25. It's going to be 24. I don't know, whatever. That was yesterday. Due diligence 10 days, appraisal contingency 18 days, loan contingency 21 days. That's why this contingency timeline is helpful, because you're spelling it out for everybody in the transaction. Now they might say, oh, sorry, you're wrong on this date, whatever, and just say, oh, sorry, I miscalculated. Because some people calculate from the date it was signed instead of the date that it was written, and like, so you just don't know. But the rule of thumb is the date that it was signed is the acceptance date. Day one starts the day after. It doesn't matter if they've accepted it at 9 in the morning or 11:59 at night. Yeah. Day one is the next day, and that's how we all stay. But some people will start counting on, like when they write the offer, they put the date at the top right, because we have to. They might count on that date. Well, 3 days might have passed before you guys have agreed, so that date is gone, So we don't know. Some agents are not trained, so the dates might be different. So if you ever get this and somebody's put these dates, you verify that those dates are correct too, right? So then you'll put seller to contribute $5,000 towards buyer's closing costs, seller to pay for home warranty up to $600, transaction fee $700, a Realty One Group, 2.5% commission, 3% commission, 8% commission, whatever you want. If you're the listing agent, you can put both the listing agents and buyer's commissions here. That way everybody knows. But if you're the buyer's agent, you have no idea what the listing agent is going to get, right? So then what I like to do is underneath that, I put the sellers, like name, Jane and John Doe, and then you could do their email. I, again, personally, do not like whatever side I'm on, I don't like to include the email. But I just put sellers, Jane and John Doe, listing agent Wendy Schaller, and then I put my email and my phone number, because everybody needs to know that. Buyers, Jane and John Doe, and then you could put their email, but I prefer not to. And then buyer's agent, Wendy Schaller, Realty One Group, whoever the agent is, right? On either side. And then the phone number. Then on the right underneath that, I'll put the lender information, right? And you'll put all of it, phone number and email for the lender. So title has it, because title and the lenders, they talk. And then that way, the listing agent, if I'm the buyer's agent, the listing agent needs to call the lender from time to time too, just to check on, if you're a good agent, you're gonna check, how's it coming, where are we at, have we gone through underwriting? But everybody will have that, so it's just like an open book, right? So you just fill all of that out, and then you send that out to everybody.
And you don't have to put their emails, right?
I
Is it
don't,
just their
yeah,
names?
just their names, because
Okay.
what I do after that is no matter what site I'm on, if I'm opening escrow, I put the basic information, because if I'm the buyer's agent, I don't have any information on the sellers other than their names. So then I put all of that, and then I send a separate follow-up email. Hey Jennifer, thanks so much for opening escrow. My buyer's names, phone number, email, da-da-da-da-da, and I fill all of that out. I put my transaction fee, I put my commission, I put anything else that's pertinent in there. The buyers will be paying the transaction fee, or hey, it's a $700 fee, but I will be paying that, so please include that in there. They want to know who's paying what, where to put it in the settlement statement, right? So I always follow up with a separate email. That's got my private information, regardless of what side I'm on. Okay, so there's that, and then there's that. And then, okay, so we've done the open escrow. Then as a listing agent, because we're still on the listing side, I order the HOA docs within 48 hours of acceptance of that contract, right? Generally, I will reach out to my title company, and I just ran into this with another agent, is that the title company said it's not my job to order the HOA docs. No, it's not their job, but you know what? There's very few title companies that won't do it for you. Why I like going to the title company, hey, can you please order HOA docs and send them to my seller? Because they'll order it, well, what they do is they order a link. They send that link to me and the sellers. And that seller clicks on it, pays for it, and it alerts me and the title company that they've been ordered. And then once they're received from the title company, which is 7 to 14 days, however long the HOA wants to take, it gets delivered to title and to me. And then we send it over to the seller as well. And then I send it to the buyer's agent. Okay, so everybody's involved. I might miss an email. It is an extra set of eyes, because the minute they're contingent, the buyers are contingent until they, like on those HOA docs. Once I send those HOA docs, the countdown starts. They legally have 5 days to review those docs. And then after that, they cannot back out because of anything that has to do with the HOA. So I want to get those docs right away and over to the buyer's agent, right? But if I missed the email, say it went on to junk or spam, or I just overlooked it, it happens. I've got an extra set of eyes, and usually title will follow up. Hey, you did not hit received or send received note that you received this, just making sure you got them. Please, please, please get used to whenever somebody sends you an email, thank you received. So the other side, whatever it is, hey, we got this, oh, thank you, EMD received, thank you received. Got it, because did they get it? Did they not? Do I need to resend it? Like what? It's just extra work for everybody else trying to figure out if you've received your email. Just get used to sending that, right? Give the buyer's agent the SRPD. I, as a buyer's agent, I try to get my SRPD, the Seller's Real Property Disclosure Form. It's a 5-page form. I try to get that as soon as I possibly can, and I like to give it to my home inspector. That form tells you that the seller has to fill it out in as honest as they possibly can. And it tells any good or bad or with the home or any easements or whatever, but and it says in there, the seller is aware of any issues, I don't know the exact sentence, that is aware of any current or past issues with these systems. Now, keep in mind that if the sellers sometimes don't want to be truthful, it is such an important document, we are not even allowed to touch that document. We cannot put the date on it, because the minute you put the date and say, fill this out, now they can say, oh, Wendy's the one that filled this out. I don't want it, because guess what? If those sellers are not honest, and then they say, nope, never any plumbing issues, and then 2 years down the road, the buyers are like, what is going on with this plumbing? They hire a plumber, and they're like, wow, this was all rebuilt, and then there's a date stamped on this pipe. Guess what? The buyers have up to 6 years to go after the seller for any repairs they knew about and didn't disclose for 3 times the amount it cost the buyers to fix that. I don't want to be responsible for it, so I had a lady not too long ago, a couple years ago. I took her listing, and I said, I just need you to fill out this form. She's like, oh, I don't have my glasses. Oh, I can't this, I can't that. Well, come to find out she was dyslexic, and she could not fill it out. So and on page 1 and 2, you have to mark yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. And anything you write yes to on page 3, you have to write out sentences as to what on page 1, line number 2, marked yes because we are in this, or we are in an HOA, or we do share wall fences with the neighbors. You have to write it out on page 3. She couldn't do it. So I literally sat there with her. I had to read it all to her. She had to write yes or no. And on page 3, I had to tell her how to spell each word to fill it out. You do whatever you can, but you do not touch that form. I do not like running it through DocuSign, Transaction Desk, whatever, because there's like, I don't have the form on there, but it kind of looks like this in that sense there. It's got all these little boxes, and then it's like, you have to check one of them. And if they mischeck it, then you got to resend the document to start all over. That is just, it's a nightmare. So this is one of these documents that when I'm doing the listing, I take over, I have a whole listing class, but they've already accepted, the listing. We've done all the paperwork, and I say, great, I've got a picture scheduled for Monday. Meet me at the house, stay at the house, and I'll come there an hour before. While the photographer's doing the pictures, I will be taking measurements, and I will have you fill out this form. That way I'm there. And I've reviewed it, and they can make any corrections, because if they mark yes when it should have been no, guess what? Now they have to X it out, then they have to initial next to it. And so there's certain ones, like on page number 2, number 9, do you share walls with any neighbors? They put no. Well, yes, generally you do, because you're going to have a block wall or vinyl fencing between you and the neighbors. But they always say no, because they're like, I'm not in a condo. Okay, not that kind of wall. Your brick walls on the outside of the house. So 9 times out of 10, they put no when it should be yes. So I have to go back and I'm like, before I leave, can you just correct this, because you do share walls in your backyard? Oh yeah. Or they'll put yes, I'm in an HOA. Okay, could you please tell me what the name of the HOA is, the phone number, and how much you pay monthly, so we can include that. You can include that in there. Not me. I'm not writing it.
The brick walls
In your backyard.
perimeter.
Yeah, because you share it with the neighbors.
The walls in your home.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So they get confused. So that's our job, is to make sure that it's filled out properly. Because once we have an accepted offer as a listing agent, your job is to get that paperwork over to the buyers right away. And as a buyer's agent, I'm like, can I get this right away? Because if you mark yes on anything, I want my home inspector to double check that when he's in there in 2 days, So you're trying to get all of that done, because then the home inspector comes, he didn't look at anything, and then you get this at day 5 and you're like, oh, there was a water leak. Now I have to pay an extra charge to get the home inspector out there to see if there's moisture behind that wall. I'd rather just do it up front. Can you get it to me right? As soon as you get it to me, I'm going to schedule that home inspection.
So if they don't do a home inspection and you check everything's good, they can still come back and say they found something?
Because the sellers did not disclose it, and they knew about it. So to me, disclose. They might not like it. Your whole kitchen could have been riddled with mold, but you got it remediated, you had it tested, you had it cleared, it's good. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to buy this house. But I disclosed it, and I gave you the invoices, and I did everything. And I tell my sellers that. I'd rather have them walk away up front than come back for the next 6 years. You guys are worried about getting sued. Right? So, and then I just say, just disclose it. And then if they, we can even disclose it before they make the offer. I can give them to the SRPD right away. And if they don't have a problem, I don't want to take my listing off the market for 2 weeks for them to figure this out and go, oh, there's mold, I don't want it. Now I just wasted 2 weeks of my seller's time. I could have missed some really good buyers. So I'm just a more upfront, open book. Here's the information. It's going to save you all of the headaches later on from having to diffuse this. And now your sellers are mad because they missed 2 weeks and they should have known. And it's always going to be your fault, guys. And it's always your fault, right? Okay. So the SRPD and any disclosures that you have, you're going to send the buyer's agent the HOA docs and certificate of resale as soon as you get that, because they have the 5 days to review that. You're going to review the home inspection. The buyers are going to order the home inspection. The home inspector is going to get there. Then he's going to, within 24 hours, give them the report. That buyer and buyer's agent, it's their job to write up a repair request if they want one. I don't ask it. Sometimes nothing happens and their due diligence ends. Well, you didn't ask for repairs. I don't have to fix anything. But
if the seller says, I'm selling as is,
it means nothing to me.
They already know they're not fixing nothing.
It means nothing to me.
Really?
I strongly discourage you from putting the words as is in any of your listings.
Okay.
Because when I see as is, that means, one, I have a really difficult seller, and 2, there's things that you know is wrong with this house and you don't want to fix it, and it's going to be very costly. That's the red light that goes on in my head, even though it's not. It might not be, but now you just made me feel like it. So now when I go to view that home, I'm looking for what's wrong. That's it. I'm not looking at like, oh, how beautiful this could be. But when I do my listings, I also put in agent remarks, please call with any questions prior. I put please call prior to writing the offer. And then that way, they've already looked at the house, they fell in love with the house, and I'll just say, hey, I'm just letting you know, they have to hit a target number. So if there's, just keep that in mind when you're writing the offer and you're asking for closing costs and a home warranty, and then your repairs later on, they're willing to come down if they need to because of the appraisal. But they're not giving money off of that, and they're not going to do any big ticket this and that. We think everything's working well, but I'm just letting you know. So because some people get a 5-page of summary report on their home inspection, and they're like, I want it all fixed. No, you're buying a resale home. It is not cosmetic, and it's not like regular maintenance. They might have forgot to change the air filters. I had one guy that had incrustation all around the plumbing in the showers, the master shower. He didn't care about that. He's like, I am so upset that they just showed this house with dirty air filters. I'm like, I will buy you a whole pack of air filters. They're gonna be like $10. But again, what's their concern on those home inspection reports are not I can't tell them what to look for, because what concerns me might not concern you, because you might have a brother that's a plumber, will do this all for free. So when I'm like, look at all the plumbing issues in here, and you're like, I'm not worried, my brother's going to do that for free. I'd rather ask for that. Cool. So I have a whole buyer's class that'll tell you that's actually repair request class I just did a week or so ago. And it's how to write it and what to do and what to say to your clients when showing them that. But so then they're going to write that repair request and they're going to send it to me. And then I go over that repair request with my sellers. And I'm like, they're asking for this, this, and this. You can fix all of it. You can fix none of it. You can give them money back. You can what are your thoughts? But as a buyer's agent, what they should be doing is like, hey, the inspector said there was a couple of roof tiles, blah, 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 or there needs flashing. Let me get a roofer out there and see what that's going to cost. The buyer's agent calls, schedules a roofer, and the roofer gives the buyer's agent an invoice. Because if you just say, hey, I want you to fix the roof problems, what is it? So now, as a listing agent, we've got to call the roofer. We have to get that. We have to get the invoice. Then they might not like the roofer that I called. And so they're like, I think your roofer was giving you a discount. And then now you're disputing, and then now you got to wait even longer for them to get their own roofer. It's the buyer's and buyer's agent's job to satisfy themselves on anything during that due diligence period. And it's not just repairs. It could be sex offenders in the neighborhood. It could be that there's a bus stop on your back wall of your house and people are standing out there at all hours of the night. It could be anything. It could be the race strip that they're doing, racing cars up at 1 a.m. It's the buyer's job to find out if they will really want that house in those 10 days. I don't care what, the school bus might pick up in front of your house every single morning. If you don't like that, then that's on you. This is not the house for me. But again, and if they want it, they're like, I want a pool, but this house doesn't have a pool. It's their job to call the city and pool contractors to see if they can even get a pool in that yard in that 10 days. Now, the city might just say, hey, these are the requirements. You have to have this much and this much away from the wall. Then you call a pool contractor. Can you come out and say that a pool of this, I want a diving pool. And they're like, hey, this is too small for a backyard for diving because we have to have so much. It's their job. If that's one requirement is I have to have a pool, then you better get somebody out there to tell you that it's feasible, because what if they buy the house and then 3 months in, they have somebody we can't fit a pool back here. Now they just bought a house that they like.
So do we suggest to them to find that information out?
Yeah, it's their job to find. Now they might ask you, hey, I don't know of a roofer. And I just say, hey, we have a few here, or you can just Google and have someone come out. It's a little trickier when you have out-of-state people, that they're the buyers. We get some buyers sometimes, a lot of military. I worked with military for a while, and they're like, where was the last one? I forget what country they were in. Anyways, their day was my night, it was all over the place. But they don't have access to call you all the time. And so he's like, hey, can you just find me 3? And then I said, here's 3, pick one. Okay, you tell me which one you want me to call. I'm like, hey, can you come out and give us an estimate on and that's how I would do it. But I never take the responsibility to just pick somebody. Just like home warranty companies. Here's 3, let me know, go online, let me know which one. I'll order it for you, but I want you to pick which one you want. It's not my job.
Can you actually order it for them?
Yeah, home warranty company is great because they all have their own little website, and you go in there, buyers, like I'm doing this for my buyers, and I'm the agent, and here's the title company, and then like here's a parcel number, and then I get a confirmation, they get a confirmation, title gets a confirmation. Like, it's really easy, and then it gets taken out at close of escrow. But yeah, so then you're going to receive the HOA docs as a listing agent, and you're going to make sure you're going to send that out to the buyer's agent. Then we did the home inspection, the repair request, and then you're going to write up an addendum for those repairs. We go over that too in the repair thing, so I don't want to go dive too deep in that addendum. Then you're going to schedule, and if you agree to fix anything, as a seller, you're going to start scheduling those repairs because you want those all done if you can prior to close of escrow. If sometimes there's things that are like, hey, we're back order on this, then you just get something in writing and make sure that it's paid for, and then they give them the contact information. Hey, we're closing, but here's your contact. It's already paid for. They'll call you when it comes in, and they'll finish that. Appraisers. Some appraisers don't have keys to get into the house, the lockbox keys, so you'll have to meet the appraisers over there as a listing agent sometimes. If not, if you're like, hey, I can't do it, you call the buyer's agent. Hey, the appraiser wants to go there on Thursday and I can't make it. Can you go there? Let them in. Then the appraisal comes in. If it comes in at value or above, you're good. They're never going to tell the listing agent. They're going to tell the buyer's agent because the buyer is the one that ordered that appraisal, right? So if they said, the lender will call you and say, hey, the appraisal came in at value or it came in $10,000 above. Awesome. You never want to tell that listing agent that it came in $10,000 over. You want to just say, hey, I always send an email. Appraisal came in at value. We are moving forward. Thank you. And then they can call you and say, well, what did it come in at? As soon as we close, I'll let you know. Because there have been times where they've come in $20,000, $30,000 above. That seller will drop you, give you your earnest money back, and relist that property for above. You don't want to tell them that, right? But if it comes in below, you need to let that seller know, the listing agent know, because you're going to go, hi, property, here's an email, because I like it in writing. We just received the appraisal back. It came in $10,000 below value. Is your seller willing to drop that price to this? And then you start negotiating. So that was the next one. Negotiate the appraisal if it comes in low. Then if you agree on a pricing, you make an addendum for the pricing. Then towards the end, you're going to get a settlement statement with a buyer side and a seller side. You're going to review that settlement statement. Then you're going to schedule a signing. I attend my signings. And do yourselves a favor, you will set yourself way above. Even when lenders, oh my gosh, I never see the realtors at the signing. Your job is just to be support. There might be one form you sign that the lender requires you to sign, but otherwise, you're just sitting there. It's just support. If it's in the morning, I'll bring little pastries and some water. I'm like, hey guys, I'm just here, like, if you need anything. And then I have my big folder, my big manila folder filled with all the documents that I've spent during the transaction. Because it's just another way for me to show them all I've done throughout these 30 days. When they think, you just showed up, opened the door, and made $20,000. But when I open my file and I'm just like, I sit down and I'm like, great. And then the first thing they're going to do is like, I just need your IDs. Not mine. To the buyers, hey, I just need your IDs. Or even the seller. Can I get your ID? And then, because we're on the listing side, I keep going back and forth. But on the listing side, they'll get the ID. And when they go out, I like open my file. I just start flipping pages. And I'm like, okay. And they come back and I'm like, you know what? Can I just take a quick peek at that settlement statement again? It's the same one they sent me the day before or that morning. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, okay. Okay, that looks great. Thanks. And then they start signing with the seller. And then they're halfway through and I just go open my file again and I just start and I'm like, because they need to see that we've been working. And then they might just say, oh, am I paying the home warranty? Oh, you know what? For the contract right here, yes, it did say that you were paying the home warranty for $800. Like, you're there just for support. They don't do this every day. So just having you sitting next to them, they feel like you got their back. And then guess what? She goes to my signings all the time. And there's one investor guy that I've known for like 10 years, and I've sold him like 6 homes. One time, I could not go to the signing because it was way across town. My daughter was little, and super storm. Things were flooding everywhere, right? I called the lender. He's like, hey, I'll go. I'm on this side. I'm like, okay. To this day, he's like, remember that one signing you didn't go to? Because he's so used to it. He won't go to any other agent.
but it's just like he just knows that I'm there. And I'm like, you're never going to let me live that down. I said, do you want me to float away? I'm like, everything was flooding. It was flooding. And so, I mean, he's just joking about it, but it's just something that they remember, that little stuff. And then the lenders, the title escrow officers, the notaries, they'll say, agents never come here. And they like to do that in front of your clients, and like, you've got a good agent. I never see agents in here. And they just help because you're helping each other, you know, trying to get that repeat business. So, and if it went well with title, chances are you're going to use title again. So, so then you attend the signing. Also, if you're the listing agent, make sure all keys and remotes are at the house prior to close of escrow. Because once you get that email that says it recorded, you are legally not allowed to step foot in that house. It's no longer your listing. So if there are keys and remotes for garages and gates and side gates and all that stuff, make sure that stuff's in the house. I do not like to leave that stuff in the house while it's listed and being shown, because anybody can steal it and break into the house or into the community. So I take it back. Once like we know we're going to close, because sometimes there's hiccups right at the very end. But once I know the buyers have signed and we're getting ready to fund it, then I go back and deliver all that stuff and I put it in a kitchen drawer. And then I put it in the email to the buyer's agent, just so you know, all keys and remotes are in the drawer next to the sink. You know, I let them know that. But if your seller has cameras, make sure that they're logged out. There's because cameras, Ring doorbells, all that stuff transfers over. You don't want random people accessing your Ring cameras and stuff like that. So make sure that that's logged out of. Instruct the sellers for the utilities to shut off. Sellers want to shut those utilities off on day one. I got an accepted offer, I'm shutting utilities off. No. Utilities need to stay on the whole process, guys. And then I tell them, legally, you should leave them on until 3 days after close of escrow. Well, I don't want to pay for utilities while they're moving in. But you know what's going to happen is if you shut that off and they haven't scheduled to turn on, now they have reconnect fees, $25, $50 to reconnect all these services. And sometimes the gas company's done this. I can't get out there for 5 days. Well, they have a moving truck sitting outside. They have no gas. They have nowhere to live. Don't do that. So you tell me what day you're having them shut off, and I'm going to put it in an email to the buyer's agent, having all utilities shut off on this date. So now please confirm you have received this. Now if they shut off and they didn't turn on, that's on them. It has nothing to do with me. And I'm like, they're like, you shut the utilities off. Yep, and I sent you an email that confirmed I was doing that on that date. And then notify everyone of the recording. You don't want to pick up your lockbox or remove your sign until it actually records. And then the lockbox especially, I always say, congratulations, we've recorded to the buyer's agent. Please let me know when you plan on going by to get that key. I'll know once they access it because it tells me. But if they're not going to access it for 2 days, I don't want to go there tonight and then you're not getting it. Like, oh, I got to come back, right? So if you just stay in contact with that buyer's agent, and then you're going to pick up the box and then your sign, and then have them remove the sign, right? Signpost. And then closing gift. If you guys want to do closing gifts, you can do it. If you're the seller, by that time they have moved out. So I like to, if you sold them another home, and then I like to, what I do is I do like a green and clean basket. So then they're moving into another house. If it's a brand new home, cool. Hey, start out your house without toxic chemicals, because I'm a green person. I don't use bleach, So I'm like, everything's natural in my world. So with that, I'm like, hey, you don't know what harmful stuff you have in your house. But if it's a resale, hey, get rid of their harmful chemicals and start out green and clean, and then, whatever. If I know they're moving, they have kids or whatever, I'm like, oh, you're not moving till Saturday? Guess what? On Saturday, I'm showing up with pizza. Hey, I know you guys are busy, but I'm just going to drop off some pizza here. So you're going to do whatever you want to do. There's cutting boards, and there's knives, and there's all this stuff, but you can't buy them couches and refrigerators. Oh, they'll ask you. I've had ones that said to me, hey, we're trying to decide which realtor, and they said they'd buy me the sectional sofa and my new stainless steel refrigerator. I said, have at it. That'd be awesome. What's their name? Because I'm going to turn them in. It's against the law. They're going to lose their license. But you just let me know. And they're like, seriously? I'm like, seriously. That's not how you do real estate. Nobody gets referral fees. I can't pay anybody unless they're another licensed referral, a licensed agent. I said, but by law, I'm only supposed to give you a closing gift not to exceed $25. So I don't know, is this sectional secondhand? I'm not quite sure what he's getting for you. And if he's giving to you for free, he's moving it from one house to the other. But if he's paying for that, that's a problem. But again, it's kind of hard. Like if you're doing a basket, I think my baskets range between, like my Green and Clean one, $27 to $32, you know, and I'm making them myself because I like to put my hands on it. But you can order something from a company, but don't spend thousands of dollars, you know. The thing is you want to stay top of mind. I would rather spend like a little bit on a closing gift right then, and then every other month send them something, a Starbucks card or something. You know what, your monthly newsletters, you're staying in the know because they're your clients, you know, hopefully staying long term. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is to get long-term clients. There's a lot of agents who do one and done, and I think they did a survey, 70% of buyers and sellers don't remember their agent's name, because they close the deal and then they don't follow up. So if you follow up, like I said, two and a half years ago, 2 years ago, right before I took this position, I had 19 closings, 16 out of the 19 were repeat customers. I don't have to look for work because they come to me. They're family members, they're coworkers, they're sending me everybody. Now, I could go and hit the pavement and sell even more than that, but I had a certain quota that I wanted to make and I was comfortable to make, and I didn't want to be working nonstop, right, at this time in my life. But I had those repeat customers, and you're going to work when the work is there, because the work is not always there. You might go 6 months without selling anything, and all of a sudden you have 3 closings. Great, but you gotta, you know, a lot for that time. So just know that you want long-term clients, and sometimes they move out of state. That doesn't mean that they're done and one and done. They've got family members, they've got friends, they've got neighbors that you might have listed in that neighbor. Like, you're still marketing to them, because when they're talking to their old neighbor and they're like, we're gonna sell, oh my God, do you need my realtor's name? Yes, I do. Like that, that's what you're hoping for, right? So, okay, so that's the listing side. Real quick, we're gonna go over the buyer's side, because it's actually much smaller than that, but I don't want to give the impression that buyer's agents do less than the listing agents. And I just saw something on my Facebook group. It was like, these buyer's agents think they deserve the same amount of commission as our listing agents. They sure do. I don't care what side you're on. To me, it should be equal. I am not one of those agents that says, I'm going to take 3% and I'm going to give you 2%. As a listing agent, if I've agreed to discount my commission, I've agreed to discount my commission. So there was agents that are they do way less, and then they take more than what the other side's doing, and then they never answer the phone. So now I'm doing both of our jobs, and then I'm getting paid less, but it's about the client. So now it's a little bit different, because what the seller doesn't pay, the buyer's agent's obligated to pay, unless you guys decide you want to reduce your commission. But I think no matter what, I'm going to be on both sides. Sometimes I'm going to sell and sometimes I'm going to list. I think I know what my worth is, so I'm going to designate what my commission is, right? I've always used a buyer broker agreement, and now it's the BBRA, buyer broker representative. But in 20 years, I've always used it, and I've held tight at that. I get X percentage. And then a lot of agents are like, well, they're only giving me this, so well, I get this. So I tell my clients, I'm going to have you sign a buyer broker agreement before we go out. And if the seller's not willing to pay for it, it does become a buyer cost. Are you okay with that? Let me get with your lender, make sure you have your down payment, your closing costs, and enough money to pay me. That's how it, like, I'm cut and dry. I don't want to say I'm expensive, but I know my value. And I'm not going to work for 1%, because that's taking time away from somebody that I'm going to sell a new home and make 4, 5, 6%. You know, it's using your time wisely. It's your business, you're independent contractors, you're going to run it how you want to run it. So now it's a little bit easier saying, hey, I want this percentage, the seller's only paying this, so now it becomes a buyer. It makes it so much easier. Back in the day, like, I don't think Tim ever used a buyer broker. I don't think Jeff ever used a buyer broker agreement. It's just, and every time I go to a CE class, they're like, 50 people, they're like, who uses a buyer broker agreement? I'm the only one. Some of the teachers or coaches, instructors, are like, awesome. Like, you got it. Other ones are like, see, nobody here uses it. So I don't know why. It's not like it's going to hold up in court, but you know what? It will hold up against me and the loyalty with me and my clients, you know, and that's all I'm saying. Because I tell them I only take 5 buyers out at a time. And then the ones that sign this are the ones that get my loyalty. Could I show you? Yes. But just know it might be a week or so before I can get to you, because these 5 come first. And I might make an appointment with you, but they might call me. So I got to cancel you because I got to go to them. There's no loyalty there. But if it works, it works. I'll, you know, but most of the time I won't even do that. I had some, go ahead.
So the people that actually see your signs on the street and then they come to your open house, you get them to sign that before they can come in?
So that's the thing, is with Realty One Group now, we only allow our Realty One agents to do Realty One Group listing open houses. And if that's the case and they're run by the brokerage, no. Buyers can come in and out, no problem. But if they say, I don't like this house, can you show me something else? Yes, now you have to sign it. Because you're sitting at an open house doing them a service. But if I was sitting on another company's open house and they walked in, yes, sorry, you can't open, like this is not my open house, it's not my listing. I mean, it's my open house, but it's not my listing. I need you to sign this before you walk in. They're not allowed in. So that's why Realty One says, you know what, we have the most agents here in town. We have the highest number of listings here in town. Chances are, I mean, you'll be able to find a house to do an open house at. So,
So it's okay to allow the community to
come
come
in.
into your open house without doing a BBA?
yep, BBRA. And that's as long as it's a Realty One group listing.
Okay.
So, Realty One group
Listing,
listing.
okay. But if it's another company?
We don't allow our agents to do them anymore as of like 3 months ago. So there's
Glad you
plenty.
said that last part, because I didn't catch you saying that, okay?
Yep, so it just has to be a Realty One group listing, and then you can avoid, because they don't even want to give us their name and phone number, let alone sign a contract. Like they just don't, right?
No, it's
So,
not.
and then when you're doing the BBRA, you need to do a duties owed form as well at the same time. Now you've got 2 forms that you need to sign, and they're like, I'm just trying to look at this house. Yep, sorry.
Okay.
New, and it's NAR laws and rules. It's not like it's just what it is. That's why Realty One said, let's just have our agents do them on our houses. We have the best listings anyway. So.
Said that.
But yeah, so when now say you have a buyer's agent, so you're going to have them go, they're going to call you and say, I want to look at homes and I need to buy blah, blah, blah. Great. Are you paying cash or are you getting a loan? You're getting a loan, need you to get a pre-approval letter from your lender. I don't show homes without a pre-approval letter.
There you go.
Why? Because I don't know that they're even qualified. I had a past client text me and he's like, hey Wendy, because he's a flight attendant. He's like, I have a friend that I just met on the flight and she's buying a house here in Vegas. I told her she has to use you, da 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 da. So he goes, she's good, she's got no debt, everything's paid off. I'm like, great. So she calls me and then I'm like, we're talking and I'm like, I just need you to talk to the lender. Well, I already went online and this guy at Zillow showed me a house and I'm like, do you sign anything? And he's like, no, but she goes, when I walked in, I told him I already had an agent. And he's like, what? He gets mad at her and he goes, I'm not going to show you this house. So she goes, I found the house that I want. Can you show me? I said, as soon as you get that pre-approval letter. And you know what? You know what this lender told me? She is not going to be good until the end of 2025. She has debt. She didn't want to tell her coworker that she had a bankruptcy last year and that she has 3 more credit cards. She has 2 car loans and she made she's just starting out as a flight attendant. There was not enough money there. But so she didn't tell him that. Now I would have wasted my time going there. She would have got excited. You are nowhere near ready, right? But I use my time wisely because I'm like, at this point, I don't have time to be running around for people I qualified. Now, here's another thing. You know that they're qualified to buy something, but we don't have a price range because they didn't talk to the lender. So I'm showing them this home for $500,000 because they're like, well, she makes this and she makes that and da 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 da. Well, that's great, but I don't know what your debt is. So I'm showing this house for $500,000. Then when they fall in love and then they get to the lender and they're like, $380 is their max. Everything I show them from 380 is not going to be good anymore. They're not going to like it. They're going to put it on hold. I'm just going to wait till we clear some things off. And okay, great. I just wasted my time again. I do not put them in. I say in my car, but I don't drive anybody in my car anymore. That stopped before COVID. But now, they can meet me wherever they want. But I don't show homes unless I know that they're approved.
Do you still have to have insurance that's required by this company even though you don't drive people in your car?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't.
Because they made my insurance go up almost $1,200 because I added that constant for collision.
Well, I don't drive anybody in my car. And I just don't because I use now the COVID. Ever since COVID, our brokerage just prefers that we don't. But it's mainly for safety.
So I didn't have to.
I would talk to Tim and just double check and see.
Yeah, because I didn't like that.
But back in the day, we did. Because we were liable, responsible. We're toting people around. So I don't know what's required now. And it might be. But I don't.
Before I leave, 'cause
Yeah.
I didn't like that part.
Yeah. But if it's required, it's going to be required from every brokerage. But I don't know if it's required anymore because nobody's really putting their. I don't know. So that's a Tim question. So you're going to get them a pre-approval. Once they get pre-approved, you're going to get their property criteria and start them on an MLS search. A couple ways to do that, and again, I have a whole buyer's class, but you can just get their criteria over the phone, or you can have them come in and meet with you, which is it works really well because you're sitting with them and you're like, okay, here's everything. What do you need? Okay, you need a 4-bedroom. Okay, you need a pool. Okay, you need this. Great, we got 3 matches. But how are you okay with maybe not having a pool? Took that out. Now we have 200 matches. And they're like, whoa. So you can see, because they always think we're hiding properties from them. They're like, well, I know you started me on a search, but I went to Zillow and I found this. Well, yeah, but you also told me you had to have 3 bathrooms, and this house is a 2-bathroom. Are you willing to give that up? Great. As soon as I put in 2-bathroom, it's going to show up. But so they say buyers are liars and sellers are worse. But buyers, they tell you one thing, but then just know if they're working with multiple agents, they're not giving them the exact same criteria. So they give you a criteria, and they give you a criteria, and then they give this one. They're like, this one found me a home, because you told them the exact opposite of what you told the other ones. So that's the thing, is you try to, and you're always on top of it. You don't just set it and forget it. I CC myself on everything, so when it goes to them, it goes to me, and they love this. When I go, oh, hey guys, did you see that house that came up at midnight? I didn't want to bother you while you're sleeping, so they think I'm up 24 hours a day. And I'm like, this one looks like everything you told me about. Can you guys go see it today? If so, let me know. I'll make an appointment. And then they'll call you, go, oh, you know that house you sent me at 1 o'clock in the morning? It's beautiful. I'm like, you know what? Oh, I've got like 5 clients on a search. Let me go back and just to see which one that was. Or you're like, yeah, I know. Do you want to see it? It's like, just make sure, tell me the address again so I make sure I'm pulling the right one. And then so they're, but they love to know that you're actually working on these searches with them, right? But then you're going to schedule showings, and I have a whole nother class on how to properly do that. You got to read the agent remarks, and down below it'll tell you, call the agent. There's no showing. There's using showing times. You have to do it the way that they said it, or in the agent-to-agent remarks, because if not, and if it says do not use showing time and you call, it's like a $250 fine because you didn't listen to the way that they did. So you got to pay attention to that. That's a whole nother class. I like to, if I know the lender says, hey, they're approved for $350, but they cannot go over $80 a month for the HOA. I don't just look at what's on that MLS sheet, because there are some agents that just copy and put it in there. It could be from 5 years ago. So I call the HOA myself. It's very hard to get them on the phone, but if I can't get them on the phone before the showing, I just let them know. I'm like, hey guys, I know you might like this one. I have to call the HOA first because we're teetering right on that $80 a month mark. And I do that before I write the offer, because I don't want to get them the deposit and earnest money, trying to get that back and then go, hey, they don't even qualify for this. I don't want to go there. I'd rather take a little extra time and get that, that done. Call the lender before writing the offer, because time frames matter to the lender. The due diligence, like the close of escrow, he's going to tell you, I need a 45-day on this one because they're VA or something. Or he'll say, appraisals are taking a little bit longer. Please put 21 days instead of 18 days. They're going to tell you those time frames, right? So you want to write those properly. Then you're going to send, you're going to write the offer, then you're going to send the offer to the listing agent in that email, and like in an email, same kind of similar to that opening escrow one. It's like, we viewed your beautiful property at 123 Main Street. My buyers really love it. They're trying to stay in this school zone, so this would work perfectly for them. I wrote our highest and best offer. Please let me know if there's something you can do. I always like to call the listing agent prior to writing the offer, but 7-8 times out of 10 they don't answer. So if I can get them on the phone, I'm like, hey, we're going to be submitting an offer, anything that you need. I'm still going to try to fight for my title company, because that's the first thing they say. It's like, oh, I want to use this title company. Okay, great. What about this? What about that? Blah, blah, blah. And then I still write what I want, and they can counter me out if need be. But if I'm asking for $20,000 in closing costs, and I might just get them their title company just to try to get that. And if they counter that out, then I'm going to add my title company in. I play those little games too. I'll give you what you want as long as I get what I want, right? So you're going to send that email over, then you're going to negotiate and write any counters if need be. Then you're going to open escrow. Either side can open escrow. Fill out that contingency time frame form. So you need this form for either side that you're on, buyer or seller. Then say they accept that offer, right? In that offer on page 1, it tells you the earnest money. It tells you write in there how many days that it's going to take for the buyer to deposit that earnest money. Make sure they get it done right away. So what's going to happen is you're going to send that email to escrow, and they're going to open it up, and they're going to send everybody an email. Congratulations, I've opened escrow. Here's your escrow number. I will get wire instructions out shortly. I try to get them out that same day, and you make sure that the buyers understand they have to go get that done, because they're like, I'll do it on Friday. No, it has to be done now. It has to be received by Thursday. You have to go now and show them. There's a whole class on that too. You want them to verify those wire instructions. We talked about that in our office meeting last week. And then I try to get that SRPD and any disclosures prior to the home inspection. Then we get the home inspection, which, make sure the HOA docs have been ordered. You could do that too, but I like to call like 3 days after I call or email the listing agent, just making sure that you've ordered the HOA docs. Do we have an ETA on when we would receive those? I don't care about the ETA. I'm just making sure they ordered them, because sometimes as listing agents we forget. Like, oh shoot, I forgot the HOA docs. Yeah, because it's just something that we have to order, and if title's not saying, hey, do you want me to order them? I forget. I've forgotten before too. It just happens. So as a buyer's agent, I'm like, hey, just making sure you've ordered them, and do we have an ETA? Because sometimes they give it to you, sometimes not. Then you order the home inspection, you review the home inspection, you drop a repair request if need be. 99% of the time you're going to have a repair request, unless they're demoing the house. I'm like, I don't care, just, but they're going to have something. You write addendums for those repairs. Then you're going to make sure the appraisal was ordered from the lender, so you're going to be talking to the lender. And then say, hey, just making sure the appraisal was ordered. Do we know when that's going to come back, when they're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. You negotiate if the appraisal comes in less. You write an addendum for pricing if that appraisal comes in less. Once you receive the HOA docs, you're going to deliver them to your client, and then there's going to be a form called a certificate of resale that you have to sign that says you received them. Then you're just going to check with the lender throughout the process, make sure everything's done. You're going to order the home warranty and send that information to title and the buyer, right? And that gets done towards the end. That's a step I love to forget. And then title's like calling me, Wendy, we're getting ready to fund. Can you order that? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It just happens. It gets away from you, but it's super easy. That's what I said. You go online, blah, 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 and it sends it to everybody, and then title is able to take it out of there. You're going to also complete the walkthrough as a buyer's agent. You cannot do a walkthrough for your buyers. They're going to say, I can't get there, I got to work. Okay. Do you have somebody else you can send? Because on there it says who's doing the walkthrough, who's representative. Now we do have people that are out of the state and know nobody here. So what I like to do at that point is I do it on FaceTime, and I'm putting you as the buyer, as the representative, because I'm just here walking around and I'm like, look, here's this wall. Here's the rest of that wall. And here's the end of that wall. Here's the baseboard. It may take so much longer, but I'm like, you good with that? Okay, here's the next wall. And anything that we know of, hey, here's the light switches work, the fans work, you're testing everything. It's so much easier if they can come in. But it used to be 3 pages long and you were testing every light switch and all of this stuff. Now it's just hey, does everything work? Is there anything that's not working? What do you want to post in here? And then you just mark it. On the walkthrough, item number 3 at the bottom, everybody forgets to mark the check mark at the bottom. So just make sure. It's on the SRPD, line number 9. Everybody forgets that one. On the walkthrough, line number 3, bottom number 3. Just make sure you do that one. And then, because it will get bounced back from Maria, and then you'll have to get everybody to initial it and sign it again, and it's a whole big thing. And all it is yes or no, and everybody forgets to mark the yes or no. Let's see. Complete the walkthrough, review the settlement statement. So once the lender's going to send out the CD, closing disclosure, by law, it has to sit there for 3 days. Regardless if they've read it in 10 minutes, that's fine, but nobody can sign and fund and record until we wait that 3-day mark. So in that 3-day mark, then they're going to give you the settlement statement. You, as a buyer's agent, is going to review it and make sure the commissions are right, the closing costs are right, the home and warranty's right, all the numbers are in the right boxes. Because sometimes title will put the home warranty on your side when it should have been on the seller's side. So it's your job to make sure all those numbers are correct. Then you're going to tell your clients, schedule for utilities. We're closing tomorrow, please schedule, or we're closing on Friday, please schedule for utilities ASAP. And if there's enough time, they can do a switch over and it's fine. Then you're going to schedule signing. Title will call you and say, hey, when do you want to sign? Do you want to attend? Please attend your signings for the buyers as well. And then notify everyone once it records. And then you can pick up keys, or I have them meet me at the house. I do a little video, or I take the key out and I hand it to them, and I do a video of them entering, and then they enter, and then sometimes I'll go in there and put their basket on the counter before they get there, and then, or I'll decorate a little, the kids' rooms. If they have kids, I'll put little things in each of the kids' rooms. Because as you're walking through there, the kids are like, this is my room. You already know. So now you get, this one gets this present, that one gets that present. I've had sellers that were selling their home and driving cross country. It was a little old lady and her dog. So I got the dog a basket with little treats and toys so she could keep busy because she was going clear across the other side of the country. So, I mean, there's just little things that you do that they remember. The kids will forever remember that you gave them that. Like if you get them something to hang in their room, it'll always be there and put your name on the back of it. Again, it's just a way to remember, for them to remember you. But, and that's pretty much it on the transaction. So, went a little bit longer, but do you guys have any questions on the process? I try to keep it in order, just like the back to basics. I start on the buyer side and then we transition into the listing side. I can give you random classes, but I learn better when things are in order. What do I expect next? And so that's the way I teach. Same with the listing process. At least you have an idea of what goes on with that. Any questions for me?
Where do you get the tax record from?
It's on the MLS. So when you pull up the MLS sheet, there'll be a tab at the top that says tax. And you just click on it and it just pulls up the tax record.
And then when you say the listing agent does the comps, that's the CMA?
No, well, there's comps, there's comparable properties, and the CMA is a comparative market analysis. So you have to put the comps into the CMA, but the CMA is like 45 pages long, and it tells you, you don't have to, but a good agent would. Yeah,
So
and that I
just
do.
do comps and just say this is the prices of neighborhood
You need to take my listing class, my listing presentation class, because I show you why you need both. Because the comps are going to help you justify the price, but the CMA, I show you where to make it, how to put it in the folder, how to explain it, what you go over. You do it in color and all that stuff. So you're almost going to do both when you're trying to take a listing and going to that listing appointment. But the comps are what's going to justify the pricing.
Right, okay. And let's see, did I have enough? Oh, the HOA ordering. You said the agent does it?
Technically, it's the agent's job, but I like to have the title company. I always say, can you please send a link for the HOA docs? And they'll send it, the title will generally send you the link, you and your buyer, or your seller, and then the seller goes on there and pays for it with their credit card. And then it's sent, once they come in, they send it to you and the seller. The title company sends it to escrow officer sends it to me and my seller.
So that just tells the buyer the remaining dues?
Oh, well, the HOA, the certificate, well, the HOA CC&Rs are all the rules and regulations.
Right, so that's just a packet.
It's a big packet. And then there's a demand as well. And the demand letter, so your seller's always going to pay for two, unless you're in a, what do you call it, Summerlin or, one of those, communities, right, that might have multiple HOAs. You might have the Summerlin HOA and then your subdivision HOA.
Right.
So there can be 2 or 3 of them sometimes. Right. But just say that there's one. You're going to have your HOA docs, which are your rules and regulations, and a demand. So your seller's going to pay for 2. The demand's usually like $150 to $180. It's one page that says the HOA, that seller does not owe the HOA anything. It's just a way for them to get a money grab. But then the documents might be another $200. So it's $300 to $500 every time somebody sells their home, and it's required that the seller pay for it.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay, and then, so John and the other lender here, these are the people that we would try to get those people qualified through if they don't have their own lender?
Yeah.
That was all I had.
Okay.
Anything else? I'm a little concerned, well, I don't wanna get this on.
Yeah,
video,
so
we'll do a
we'll shut that off.
sidebar.
Any questions for me?
I'm okay.
Okay, perfect. So,
Actually, it was, I think, a lot of the information was a recap, which is good, but I learned a lot of new things.
little things too, yeah. And so I just like to give you kind of like what to expect as a listing agent and then as a buyer's agent, and then we have specific classes on doing a listing and taking out a buyer. So anybody on film here, all of our classes in the Summerlin office are recorded and put on our YouTube channel. So if you don't see them live, always go to YouTube for everything that we do here. If you have any questions or want any of the printouts, just email me at wendy.schaller@realtyoneGroup.com, and then I can go ahead and send them over to you. But otherwise, thanks for coming, everybody, and we'll see y'all soon.